Hey everybody, welcome. Today I'm going to be addressing those of you who are feeling hopeless and unmotivated and you're looking for some simple ways to regain that feeling of being in control of how you feel. So welcome. If you're new to our community, I know we've had a ton of new people who've joined. My name is Hicks, founder of Mental Health Coaching International. And I used to deal with suicidal depression and extreme anxiety, and now I don't. And I just want to share insights from my own journey and from the journey of those that we've been fortunate enough to help overcome their own anxiety and depression. So today we're going to be touching on feeling hopeless and feeling unmotivated. I've got a couple stories to share with you that I think will be very insightful, and then I've got a simple 4-step process that can help you start to feel more powerful and in control of how you feel. Okay, and if you have questions throughout, feel free to add those in, and I will be happy to answer as many of those as I can at the end of the live stream. Okay, so one thing, the inspiration for today's live is I've been speaking with a lot of people. We've had a couple new clients recently, and one key theme that I have seen again and again is that people will have this mentality where they feel stuck, they feel trapped, they feel like particularly their depression, their anxiety is something that they just can't really change. Typically, this arises after a long history of trying a lot of different methods. So I know for a lot of you guys, you've been trying different medications, you've been maybe going to therapy for years, maybe you've tried your own self-implemented coping mechanisms like journaling or meditation, or maybe you've read this random book or done this random course and you feel like it's not coming together for you. And for many people, after they've done that several times, they start to essentially believe that their situation is not really changeable. And there are kind of two different types of people like this. The first type are people who initially feel anxious or depressed, and then they go get a diagnosis. And as soon as they get that diagnosis, depending on how that's delivered to them, the connotation, the belief that they can kind of have is like, oh, well, this is a part of who I am. This is how my life is going to be now going forward. And so they start to imagine a future where they're always depressed or always anxious. So sometimes it can happen right as soon as you get that like initial diagnosis of whatever it is. The second type of person I've found that will get into that hopeless, unmotivated mode, in particular about improving their mental health, are people who've been trying a lot of things. They really, really want to get their anxiety handled. They really want to get their depression handled. But for some reason, they just haven't found the right successful pathway to do that. And there are very specific reasons why people get stuck and why that process doesn't work. And we'll be digging in on some of that today. Okay, so a couple quick stories for you that I want to share with you. So first one is about how elephants are trained. All right, now I promise there's going to be a takeaway for you at the end of this. Okay, so in case you didn't know, what they do with baby elephants in the circus, like you ever gone to the circus and you see these big giant elephants and you're thinking to yourself, why in the world does this big giant elephant follow the instructions of this tiny little man or woman who's leading them around in the circus, right? This elephant is thousands of pounds heavy. It could easily rip the whole thing apart, right? Why doesn't it run away? Why doesn't it leave? All right. And what they do with elephants is when the elephant is a child, when it's a baby, okay, they will tie a rope around the snout of the elephant, and then they will tie the other end of the rope to a stake in the ground. And so the elephant will try to pull and get free and yank, right? But the elephant's just a little baby, so it doesn't have the strength, it doesn't have the ability to do that. And it'll pull and it'll pull and it'll pull, but eventually it will conclude, okay, I cannot pull out this stake. But then, of course, the elephant grows up to be much larger, much more powerful. But because the elephant concluded a long time ago that it cannot pull the stake out, it doesn't try to pull the stake out anymore. Okay, and so this is very often what happens for people when they're trying to improve their mental health, right? Is they go down one avenue to improve it, doesn't pan out for them, doesn't work. They try a second thing, right? They kind of tug on that stake a second time. They try a different method, didn't really work for them. They try a third method, didn't really work well for them. And then all of a sudden what they do is they go into learned helplessness, which is very natural for any living creature to do. And really it's just us deciding, it's us convincing ourselves of, I can't do X, Y, Z. I just can't. Because I've tried X number of times, that means I flat out can't. Okay, and that's the key thing that then will keep us trapped indefinitely and forever. Now, a second story very related to this, they've also done this with certain breeds of fish. So there's a study that was done once where you have a predator fish, and then it's swimming around in a tank, and then you dump in the type of fish that it would eat. And of course, what does it do? It chomps on the fish, right? And so then what they do is they take that same tank, right, and they have the predator fish in it. And then what they do is they put a big plate of plexiglass that divides the fish tank in two halves. So you've got the predator fish on one half, and then you've got the plexiglass, and then an empty side. And then what they do is they pour like goldfish or minnows or whatever the prey would be of that predator fish on the other side. And so what does the predator fish do? Well, the predator fish tries to go and eat the prey, but it hits its snout on the plexiglass. And so it does the same thing again. It goes and tries to go across, hits its snout 3, 4, 5, 6 times, however long that takes. It tries and tries and tries. And then what does it do? It stops, right? It can't even see the barrier anymore. It doesn't know that there's a barrier there visibly, right? But it encountered pain. And all of us are biologically hardwired to avoid doing what we think will give us pain. So what do? The predator fish starts to spin around in circles. It no longer pursues the prey. And then what the researchers do is they take the plexiglass out of the fish tank, okay? And an amazing thing happens. The predator fish doesn't even go and pursue the prey anymore. It just keeps circling. Why? Because it made a conclusion a long time ago that it just can't. It can't move forward. It can't go get that done. Okay, so in both of these two situations, what I want you to see is there was a presumption that was made based off of a limited set of experiences, that there was inherently a boundary there. In other words, because both the elephant and the fish encountered pain a series of times, a conclusion was made that if I try this again, I'm going to experience pain again. Therefore, I just can't do that. Okay, and the reason why these stories kind of came up for me is because I was just working with a woman just recently. I asked her if I could use this story, and she said, yes, please do. Her name's Julie. Started working with her a couple weeks ago. And for her anxiety, she's been dealing with for close to 20 years, right? It's been pretty much a lifelong thing for her since her teens. She had gone through the therapy rigmarole she's been doing that for at least 12 years. She's been on medications for 16 years. She had tried her own coping mechanisms at least 7 or 8 different times, right? She had, read this book or read that book, and she had all of the good intentions to improve her situation, but nothing really fully worked for her. Some things worked a little bit, but not everything worked at the deepest level that she really wanted. And so, when I told her, right, about kind of how we do things and our conditioning method, she thought, oh my gosh, okay, this is something I haven't done before. I've never really learned how to retrain the brain. But the thing that got in her way initially was she was going through the first couple of weeks of the program with us, and she wasn't getting a lot out of it, which is very rare. And so what I did is I said, well, look, how are you really feeling about the program? And she said, to be honest, I just don't really know if it's going to work. And I said, okay, gotcha. What are the chances that anything is going to work if we operate from the assumption that it won't work? And all of a sudden she realized it was the presumption that it wasn't going to work that was actually keeping her from being able to move forward. And so I said, look, all I want you to do is I want you to temporarily suspend disbelief. I don't want you to just go ahead and believe it, because that would be disingenuous. I just want you to suspend disbelief. Let's operate from the assumption that you can and you will improve your mental health for the next 2 weeks. You don't have to know all the ways to do it. You don't have to know all the steps. You don't have to know all the strategies. But let's just choose what we believe in this situation. Let's choose to operate from a belief that we absolutely can and will improve your mental health. And let's just do that and see what happens. And she said, okay, I can do that. I will do that. And so then she went back through the exact same curriculum, the exact same steps. She started implementing the exact same steps and got a profoundly different result. Right? It's the learned helplessness that keeps us stuck. It's not that we actually can't improve our mental health. It's the presumption that we can't that keeps us from improving our mental health. And I want to be clear, I don't blame you if in any way if this is a conclusion that you've drawn. It's not your fault, right? It's that you've tried probably every single thing you currently know of to actually improve the situation. You thought you've done everything, but very often what happens is we convince ourselves we've done everything when really we've just done the 2 or 3 or 4 things that we know of, and that may not be everything, right? And so it's not necessarily that you can't get rid of your anxiety or get rid of your depression, it's just that you haven't yet. Right, so that one shift in belief is really, really imperative and important, and that's what has unlocked the transformation for Julie and all sorts of other people that I've had over the years. Right now, I want to share with you a framework so that you can start to implement this yourself. Because fundamentally, if you're feeling like you can't improve your mental health, what that means is you're probably feeling very powerless in a sense. You're probably not feeling like you have much of an ability to actually impact your situation, do much about it. So what do you do when you're in that sort of hopeless mode? Well, I want to give you a simple little framework you can start to use, okay? And so it's best illustrated. I don't have the ability to share my screen at the moment, but it's best illustrated through a quick little diagram of a square that then is divided into 4 parts. Okay, so if you were to draw something on your notes, you would draw a quick little square and then divide that into 4 sections, okay? And so what this represents is the 4 steps of creating certainty. Okay, we call it the cycle of certainty. Because if you're feeling hopeless or disempowered right now, more than likely one thing that you're craving to feel is a greater sense of certainty in your life. You want to feel certain that you can control how you feel, that you can control how you think, that you can choose how you react, that you can improve your marriage or your relationship or your career, right? That you get to be the one who gets to decide, that gets to choose, that gets to enact things, right? And so to do that, we have to get a greater sense of certainty within you in order to make that happen. So this little cycle explains how certainty is created, okay? So the very first step is that in any given situation, there is potential, okay? So like right now in your life, right this exact moment, there is potential to improve a whole lot of different things. If you're not satisfied with your business, your relationship, your mental health, your finances, like different areas, there is raw potential available. There is the opportunity to improve things. You might have to do things very differently than what you've done before. You may not even know the strategy necessary to get that done, but there is potential, right? And I think if we're being honest with ourselves at any level, we can agree, right, that there is certainly potential to improve just about anything that we would want in our lives. But having potential to get it done doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get done, right? And why is that? Why is it that we don't often or always take action on the potential that we do have? Why don't we move forward to improve things even though there is the potential to do so? Well, it's because that whenever there is potential, what happens secondly is there's a belief. So first there's potential, and then secondly there's a belief about what amount of potential there is, or about how likely you are actually going to be able to enact it, right? So can just about anybody, let's take a simple example, right? Let's say like being out of shape. Right? Now, different people have different situations. I'm not saying it's as easy as it is for everybody, right? Like some people it's more difficult to get in shape. Some people it's more challenging, right? But let's say someone is like legitimately medically out of shape. They're overweight, right? They have the opportunity to lose some weight. Would there be a potential for them to get at least an improved amount of physical shape? Yes, absolutely, right? But some people have a belief about whether they truly can lose weight or not. Right? And if someone believes that they cannot lose weight, it doesn't matter if they actually have the potential to lose the weight, because the belief is going to keep them from taking action, which is the third step. So first there's potential, second there's a belief, third there's action that is taken in accordance with the belief. So it goes in sort of a cycle like this. So if you've got your little diagram, it would look like this, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it goes in an arrow like that. I know that's showing up backwards for some of you, right? So we start with potential, that leads to belief, belief leads to action, okay? And then finally, action leads to results, which is number 4. All right? So if I'll speak about Julie, the client I was just talking about, right? So for her, right, did she have the potential to improve her mental health? Yes, absolutely, she did have the potential to do so. Did she have the belief that she was going to be able to improve her mental health? No, she did not. And so when she believed that she wasn't going to be able to improve her mental health, what kind of actions did she take? Well, we take actions in accordance with what we believe, okay? Not in accordance with what we want. This is very often why people get the life that they expect, not the life that they want. If we expect things are going to go badly, what do we tend to do? We tend to engage in behaviors and actions that then lead to that very bad thing happening that we don't even want to have happen. Okay, there's another person I spoke to just yesterday where this exact thing was happening between them and their partner at a level of trust. She said that she didn't trust her partner, and come to find out, basically she had been blaming her partner of the partner communicating inappropriately with people for about a year or two, even though that hadn't been happening, and then it started happening, right? Now, obviously, I don't condone the gentleman for doing what he did, and it's not like it's all her fault necessarily or anything like that. I'm just trying to point out, right, that when we believe something is going to take place, we will act in a way where we very often make that thing take place, right? And that's what was happening for Julie. When she presumed and believed, no, this isn't going to work. I'm not going to be able to get my anxiety handled. I'm not going to be able to get my depression handled. The types of actions she took was laying in bed all day, doom scrolling on her phone all day, binge watching television, overindulging in alcohol, and all of those things then made her feel even more powerless, even more hopeless, even more depressed, right? Those actions created more depression, more anxiety. As she started to believe, I can't improve my mental health, she started to visualize a future of having lots of anxiety, which is the very thing that causes anxiety. Right? So she had the potential to improve her mental health, step one, but step two, she didn't have the right belief. So she was taking the wrong actions. And then as she took the wrong actions, she got bad results, right? She got more anxious, more depressed. And then this is how the cycle of certainty goes into a constant cycle. She got the bad results and she went, see, look, here I am. I'm in this brand new program. I'm still feeling anxious. I'm still feeling depressed. So then that limits the potential, right? Because now she's in a worse spot, right? She has less potential now, and now her belief is even less, and now she's going to take less action and get worse results. And this is how people go into a very, very downward cycle. This is where anxiety or depression can end up taking over an entire person's life over the course of, say, a decade. It's because this cycle continuously rehearses. It starts with, I'm feeling a little anxious, so I don't believe, right? Remember, belief. I don't believe I can go to work and function really well at work. And when we believe that we can't go to work and function well at work, what do? We don't function well at work. So then we quit work. Now all of a sudden we get more depressed because we don't have something else going on in our life. Then we worry we've got even less potential. And then we believe, oh gosh, now I'm getting even worse, right? And it goes round and round and round, okay? So the trick is to take it from a downward cycle and instead go in an upward cycle, right? We have to start with choosing to believe that you can change the situation. Think of it just simply like this, my friends. What are the chances of a human being solving a problem if they don't believe that they can solve the problem? They've now created a box, a prison of their own creation, whether they didn't mean to, right? I'm not blaming you guys if this is what's happened for you. I did this too, by the way. When I was suicidal, I totally was convinced, like, no, I'm not going to be able to get my depression out of my life. Definitely not going to be able to get the anxiety out. I'm taking my meds. I'm going to therapy. I was hospitalized. It's not working for me, right? But what I realized is I had to shift the belief first. And so what I did, the reason why my path ended up different than a lot of people's is I chose to believe I can and I will overcome this. That was the very first thing I did that got me on the path, right? And by the way, there's been literal scientific documentation that's come out recently. I forget the source. I can find it though. But I saw an article just a couple months ago. And what they found was people who believe that they can improve their mental health have infinitely better mental health than people who assume that they can't improve their mental health. Right? So what I'm sharing with you, my friends, what I implore you to do is decide, commit to believing that you can and you will improve your mental health. Because if you don't, there's no strategy, no system in the world that's going to be able to help you. But as soon as you say, you know what, if other people have done it, I can do it. Right? And because look, I'm not any better than you, right? Like I'm not any smarter than you, really. It's just there's certain skills and steps and systems that I've learned over the years that you may not learn, right? And that's why I always tell our clients, it's not like I'm some magical guy. Anybody can learn how to do it. It's not that you can't do it, it's that you haven't done it yet. And just don't make that mistake, because there's nothing wrong with you being in an anxious, depressed state right this minute, right now, and you having tried a bunch of different things that didn't work for you. That's okay. That's useful information, because now you've gotten closer to figuring out what will work for you. Right? If you tried 8 things and those 8 things didn't work, that's good. That's useful information. You now know what not to do, right? But that doesn't mean that you've done everything. So please don't give up. You absolutely can do this. And remember that every belief has consequences, right? When we choose to believe that we can't move forward, we don't move forward, and then we get more stuck. So if you choose to believe you can and you will improve this, life gets infinitely better from that situation, okay? I see a lot of really good stuff in the comments here. Thank you so much for showing up. We're going to be doing these lives more regularly. Okay, if you ever have questions, let us know. And if you ever want to do a completely free one-on-one coaching session, we offer a free coaching session to anybody in our online community. You can go ahead and book one at mentalhealthcoaching.com. We would love to support you and help you on your specific situation. Okay, thanks everybody for showing up. I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.